Well, it's been a while since my last video. Um, the bike was apart. I showed it in bits, and I've since got my frame back together, or back from paint. So I put the bike back together. Um, did a lot of rebuilding, rebuilt the carburetors, rebuilt the front end, all new bearings, new rear main seal, new oil pump seal, cover seal, flywheel seal. The front end got totally resealed. The timing chest I took apart and resealed it. So now the only thing I'm waiting on are the wheels, and that's what I'm working on now. The wheels, I decided to cut off all the old spokes, and I bead blasted the hubs, badly corroded and pitted, so I used a bead blaster, and they came out pretty good. I'm going to just seal the aluminum and leave them as is. The rims I was struggling with to replace or to repair. This rim has undergone a lot of work already, just getting the corrosion off, and as you can see, the finish is gone. It's shot. So what I'm doing is sanding them down, and I've already done this one. I started with 100 grit and worked my way up to 2000 grit. And then I'm going to put it on a buffing wheel, but that rim is definitely has been salvageable. I got all the nicks out of it and the pitting out of it. These were badly corroded. I had to take a wire wheel to the backside and actually take a bore brush and bore out the corrosion out of the spoke holes. Clouds of corrosion came out of them. So a lot of work left to do on this. It's a full 8-hour job hand sanding it, and then it's another half day just polishing it out to get that to look like this, and then I'll still have to put this on a buffing wheel. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to lace the front wheel up after I put that rim on a buffing wheel, and I'll get the front built up and on the bike. So I did tune it. I'm waiting on some parts, some brackets to mount the duct there for that left side carburetor. But rebuilt the Delortos, and I got it tuned up no problem. Had to put a new set of points and a condenser in it. The old points were arcing all over the place. And I have one shock that's got a lot of resistance in it, and it might stack up and bind on me, so I might have to replace these old original shocks with some icons or something. But I'll determine that once I get it out for a test ride. So next step, buffing and lacing. Well, I've begun lacing up this front wheel, and I'm beginning with the outer spokes, the outers for the right side of the rim. These spokes and nipples are stainless, and they came from Buchanan's. About $113 a set. So we're just going to get all these outers in place, and then I'll put the right side inners in place. used to road race bicycles, and used to build up all my own, lace up all my own wheels. It's quite therapeutic. I really like these straight spokes. They're so much easier to install than a bent spoke. Okay, so now we'll put the inners on the right side in, and they'll cross with the, to the inside, they'll cross with the outers. Lacing up BMW rims is quite straightforward and quite easy. This is a dual disc front hub, and I believe there's no offset on the front dual disc. There is about a 6.5 millimeter offset on the rear drum, but that's an easy thing to deal with as well. Okay, so now we'll do the left side of the wheel, and the process is exactly the same. So you just start with the outers, so I'm using wheel guard from the chemical guys to seal this aluminum before I start lacing up the other side. I had forgotten to apply this, and this seals the aluminum up. It's very easy to apply. You just basically wipe it on and wipe it off, and it does a good job. They say it lasts for about 8 months. A lot easier to apply now. I've found that after applying this and letting letting it harden, that the brake dust you can just blow it right off. It dries very, very slippery, and it gets into the pores of the aluminum nicely. Okay, back to spoke lacing. So right side outers. A lot of polish. Okay, now for the remaining inners. And they cross under the outer spokes. And when you're done tensioning, there should be a gap between these spokes that they don't rub. It's one advantage of straight spokes. So they don't rub on each other. So initially I take these nipples and I screw them into the spokes until the last thread on the spoke is just exposed. And then once I have them all the nipples in, verified that all the inners go under the outer spokes on both sides, I will tension these spokes until the spoke just protrudes out the back end of the nipple. And then I'll put it on the truing stand. Inner, under, 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 under. Good. Okay, so now I will take and tighten these spokes until the spoke just is flush with the top of the nipple. Okay, well, I have all the spokes in and tensioned so that they're all about flush with the tops of the nipples. And as you can see, I got a long way to go here to dial this guy. Well, I've got all the spokes on this front rim torqued to 50 inch-pounds. I've gone over it about 5 or 6 times, working gradually up to it. So I'm going to stop here and let it sit overnight, and then I'm going to take the stress off the spokes by taking a punch and punching the back side of the spoke here and driving it in and just setting each spoke into the hub, which kind of takes the stress off the spoke, and then I'll retorque them again to 50 inch-pounds, and then I'm going to start the actual truing process. I'm going to put the bearings in it in order to be able to stabilize it in my truing stand when I go to actually start taking the measurements. So I'm going to call it a day.